of Lincoln, America.
Yeah, I'll come for a couple.
Here are your hosts, Nick Sainert.
I want to know what it's like to commit a crime without having to spend time in jail.
And Enrique Alvarez Clary.
C is for chunk.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Good afternoon. Happy Thursday. This is the Happy Hour 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. Nick Sainert with you. No Enrique Alvarez Clary today. He had something pop up, so it's just me today, but that's all right. We have plenty of stuff to talk about, both sports-related and not sports-related. There were some interesting things that came out of Taco Bell today that we'll have to, we really need to sort out with like this Taco Bell loyalty pass. We really need to sort that out. But there's a couple things. Wandel Robinson entered the NFL draft yesterday officially after breaking the single season receiving yards in his first year at Kentucky. He entered the draft for next spring. And I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on Wandale, on Antonio Brown, on Husker quarterbacks, right? We're still not out of that whole saga. Nebraska quarterbacks trying to find who their next signal caller is going to be. There's tons of rumors swirling around with Casey Thompson and obviously Chubba Purdy still in line to visit on January 14th. So they're still in line, as always, 402-464-5685, the Honda of Lincoln hotline, the Starter Heyman text line. Both of those open for you all hour long. Steve Sipple of the Lincoln Journal-Star will join me at 2:30. We'll definitely ask him about the whole quarterback decision and everything going on there with Scott Frost, Mark Whipple, the new offensive coordinator, everything. But I also am curious, what are your guys' thoughts on the running back room at Nebraska? Because I saw something and I was reading, and I don't like to read into message boards. I'll be the first to tell you that. I don't like reading into message boards. I was reading the message boards just trying to get a fan gauge on how everybody was feeling, really. And there's a lot of people out there that feel like Nebraska needs to add a running back. But me personally, and we can start here. So 402-464-5685. You guys know how to get in touch with the show as well as the Starter Heyman Jewelers video stream, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Part of me is like, there's already a lot of bodies in that room. And yes, you lost Sevion Morrison, but he was one of those guys that going into the season, and Bach and I kind of talked about this on the water cooler portion of his show yesterday, but a lot of those guys, they came in wanting to find one guy to really carry the load, but didn't. And part of that may be the coaching. Part of that also may be the guys in that room just not stepping up and taking their spot, right? And maybe that's been a big problem all 4 years and why they've had to do kind of a running back by committee approach for a good portion of the time that the staff has been here. You think back to 2018 when Divino Zigbo kind of took the reins after Greg Bell really did not come onto the scene at Nebraska as planned. I remember he fumbled on one of his in the first quarter of his first game as a Husker, and everybody kind of freaked out because it was the number one junior college running back. And now he's not working out his plan. So Divino Zigbo is kind of irrelevant to this conversation, but there's just always been a lot of bodies in that room, and nobody's really taken the job. Jaquez Yant last year did not, had one good game, I should say, or a couple strong performances, and then kind of fell off, right? And that seems to be a pattern with Nebraska football these last couple years. It's been a couple good games from whoever wants to step up, and then bam, it's non-existent the rest of the way. And it's frustrating. It is extremely frustrating when each year you're talking about all these guys that have the ability to step up and really take that next step in not only their football career, but in terms of finding wins for Nebraska football, and they're just not. And that can lead into a whole nother conversation of whether or not that falls on the coaching staff or whether that falls on the guys they recruit or their ability to develop. And we don't necessarily need to go down that rabbit hole, but I'm worried about the quarterback. right? Is that all right for me to say? I'm worried about the quarterback. And here's why. I mentioned this the other day, and 402-464-5685, you guys can get in touch with the show that way if you're just now joining. No Rico today. But here's the thing. With the quarterback, it's going to be completely different than what Nebraska fans, what this coaching staff, mainly Scott Frost, since there's a new offensive staff, it's going to be extremely different than what they're used to. It's going to be looking drastically different than what Husker fans are used to seeing. Because you're going to have a different name under center or in shotgun, right? Especially from the 1 yard line. I couldn't help. Either shotgun from the 1 yard line, right? And here's the deal. When you talk about this program, there's just not been enough stability. It's kind of been a program of instability, whether you want to talk about attrition or coaches leaving and all that. Adrian Martinez, no matter how poor he played at some times and how great he played at some points in the game, he was the staple on this offense. Right? Every game, whether he had a broken jaw, whether he had a torn labrum or a high ankle sprain, you knew Adrian Martinez was going to be playing quarterback every single week. And you knew that he was going to be a huge, monumental part of this offense every single Saturday, which we can argue, I'll argue right now, hurt Nebraska in more ways than it helped Nebraska. And here's example number one of how it hurt Nebraska more than it helped Nebraska. Quarterback, Logan Smothers. Right? And once again, part of this falls on the coach. You claim, Scott Frost claimed a couple weeks before the season ended, yeah, there's been areas that we wanted to get Logan Smothers in, but there's just not enough game experience, game-like experience. First of all, I recall a game against Purdue where Adrian Martinez, threw 4 picks and you left him in. I recall a game against Michigan State where Adrian Martinez fractured his jaw and you brought in Logan Smothers for garbage time at the end of the first half. And then second half, everybody acted like everything was totally fine. You didn't hear about Adrian Martinez. Yeah, I just got banged up a little bit, normal bruises. And you didn't give Logan Smothers a shot. And then you're going to not give him game-like opportunities in practice. There are ways that you can simulate and have situations in practice to prepare him for moments. What if a true freshman quarterback has to play their first college game? You can't just sit them because they're not going to have game-like experience, right? That's what practice is for. Now, is practice not being taken seriously enough? I don't know. I truly don't know. But there are ways that you can look back at the events that happened and what we were told and how this whole season unfolded. And yes, maybe Adrian Martinez at this point in the 2021 season was still the best option. But here you are looking ahead at 2022 on January 6, 2022, saying you have no confidence in the guys behind him, little to no confidence. I don't want to give Logan. And that's not talking about Logan as a quarterback, because if Logan, I really wish, and I kind of hope that this is the case, is that Logan's the starter next year. But for everything we've been talking about, everything we've been told, everything we've heard, is that they're not comfortable enough going forward with Logan Smothers and Heinrich Haarberg, the guys that they have in their own room, right? And so when you talk about things like continuing to develop your program, not just a player, your program, putting Logan in a situation like against Michigan State, where, and that's the thing, is where you're not giving Logan the free reins. It's similar to an Iowa thing against Michigan State, right? Where you're running him a little bit more. And I've been firmly in the boat of that's not a sustainable option. And I'm still in that boat. But I was thinking last night, all right, so you put Logan in the first possession of the third quarter, coming out of the locker room at halftime. You feeling pretty good about yourself. It's a close game against Michigan State. I believe they were number 10 in the country on the road. Your starting quarterback just got banged up. And by banged up, I mean got a crown of a helmet to his jaw, or a face mask or whatever it was. Logan Smothers out there for one possession. Get him that quote-unquote game-like experience that was a reason that you did not put him in when Nebraska needed him more early on or later on in the season against Purdue. Put him in that time against Michigan State. If he fails or if he turns over the football or looks really, really bad, yep, yank him. All right, Adrian, we're going to actually need you this game. What's the hurt in that? You have so much confidence in your defense, and rightfully so. Eric Shenander has those dudes playing well. You're holding Kenneth Walker to a minimal amount of yards. And you're going to put in a guy that has a fractured jaw over giving your backup that you've told us to that point. Remember, it's kind of weird. So try to stick with me because I hope I'm not being too confusing when I'm saying this. But to that point, they felt good about Logan Smothers. They told us they loved Logan Smothers. So if you loved him and you felt good about him, where's the negative part in putting him in for one possession to see how he does on the road in a night game against the number 10 team in the country? He's been in this program for a year and a half, right? He should have a good grasp of the offense, so that excuse of not knowing the playbook or anything like that can't be used. He should be willing, excited, wanting to take that opportunity. But there was no opportunity. So then that was a week, and that's 1 week, and there was other weeks, obviously garbage time against Northwestern. He saw some time and things like that. But that was a time in a competitive matchup against Michigan State, against a top tier team at the time, to get him some game-like experience. So then when you're sitting here going into 2022, you can't use that. You can't say, well, Logan hasn't had enough game-like experience. It's those opportunities, once again, that were missed or misuse of talent or the guys in that room. And that can be applied, unfortunately. And I really don't want to be negative, but I'm being honest. This is not fun. It's not fun to look and say, man, I was texting back and forth with Sip this morning, and I was just thinking to myself, well, we're going to talk about quarterbacks. Like, I'm sorry, Sip, but we're going to talk about quarterbacks because it's such a big topic and it's extremely important to whether or not Scott Frost is the coach here next year. Whether or not bringing in Mark Whipple will actually allow Mark Whipple to have the reins to the offense. And that's what David says on the text line. 402-464-5685. I want to make sure I get to all these texts here. David says this: I think the confidence has to be in Whipple and his ability to mold offense around any quarterback to get enough wins for a bowl game. He's also a 6-year rebuild guy, and I don't think it's a one or done year. So David's in the boat where, and that's totally fine. If we're all in that boat of this isn't it for Scott Frost, if he doesn't provide enough wins, then that's okay. I will say this: the farther that we get away from the season, and the more we look back at 2021 as a whole, the less glamorous it seems and it feels and it sounds to say, well, they were close and they were one-score games. That feel good of them saying that they were one score away, that's kind of weared off for me personally. That's just me being truthful. Because it seems like that was a big thing on Twitter and all the social media sites was, Nebraska's one score. I just saw a graphic today, about 30 seconds before I went on the air, that said, if one scores were flipped, Nebraska would have been 11-1 this season. Stop. Nebraska was 3-9. And that's my whole point. And I know you guys have said it to me I know I've said it to you guys a lot, and I apologize because it's going to sound repetitive by the time Nebraska plays Northwestern next August. It's not an effort thing. This is you are at Nebraska, a place that should be relatively easy place to win. You have a great alumni support. You have fantastic facilities. And now NIL is a part of this. And you're 3-9. And part of me wonders, like next year, and I've kind of talked about this, like next year, there's got to be a time where you can't pick excuses out of thin air and use them every single year. There just has to be a time where you set your foot down, not only as a Husker fan, but as administration. And even if you're Scott Frost, like I would just get, if I was Scott Frost, I would be tired of the excuses. I would be tired of hearing about the excuses. Because really, at some point, you can't just continue to pick out excuses out of thin air. Like next year, let's say that if Nebraska doesn't make a bowl game or doesn't have high standards right there, it's like, is next year's excuse going to say, well, we only had 1 year with the offensive coordinator? You put that on yourself. Like as a whole program, I'm not talking about Scott Frost right now. Any coach, that's the way I like to look at these things. Is if any coach was here, is that this is all you're doing. You've been the constant throughout these, after next year, 5 years. And you're telling me at a place like Nebraska, where we would like to think that the standard is high, like the expectations are high, like that the alumni support is high, and that you're in the Big Ten West, that you're struggling to make a bowl game, the Cheez-It Bowl, right? It goes back to that conversation that there are so many bowl games, and it's kind of, it's infuriating that Nebraska hasn't been able to make a bowl game. And here's the deal, is that whoever the head coach is, if it was Mike Riley, who by the way got a job in the USFL with the New Jersey something. Mike Riley's back to being a head coach, but sidebar. But that the head coach has been the constant. And at some point, you just can't continue to pick excuses out of thin air and expect them to cover up how disappointing of a tenure it has been at Nebraska. That's just me. I'll be honest. And I know some people aren't in that lane, and that's totally fine. And I'm open for debate. So please, 402-464-5685. We get this off the text line. Drumstick says this: "You're damn right, Nick. We're close." The quote, "we're close," is infuriating. We get this from an unnamed texter. "Nick, people look at this differently because Scott Frost was a player and a native son. But anyone who is objective and takes the time to look at him as just another coach couldn't possibly think that he deserved a fifth year." Now, I want to expand on that a little bit, because that's a really interesting way to look at it. And that kind of goes into my whole thought of the farther that we separate ourselves from this 3-9 season, and the farther we get away from Iowa, and this is going to be a long off season, just buckle up, folks. The less glamorous the one loss is. Look, this kind of ties into this point. I lost my train of thought there for a second, but here it is. Scott Frost is getting an opportunity of a lifetime. Any coach, once again, let's take Scott Frost's name away from this. Let's say Bo Bum was coaching at Nebraska, won a couple national titles, and is now the coach. 4 years in, he's not winning. You're getting an opportunity of a lifetime going into your fifth year, and you're 16 and whatever the record is. A lot of losses. You're getting an opportunity that nobody else would get. Nobody. And frankly, if you want to be brutally honest, it shouldn't matter what your name is when you're talking about expectations and standards at a university. The brutally honest thought that I just kind of came up with is you cannot put anybody above a university. What's that saying? A sum of the parts are greater than whatever. You know what I'm talking about? You cannot change expectations. You cannot change standards, and you cannot allow bad play, bad decisions to take down anything, whether that's a football program, whether that's a baseball program, whether that's a basketball program. Because at some point you have to put your foot down. And that's my whole point through all of this is Nebraska fans, I hope for your sake so that you don't have 10 more years of this, right? Is that at some point, whoever the coach is, if it's Mike Riley, if it's Sean Eichhorst, if it's, who was an AD, I know, if it's Sean Eichhorst, if it's Scott Frost, at some point, I hope for your sake that everybody can collectively put their foot down and say, this isn't good enough for us. Because that's what we've done with previous staffs. And I get that I'm younger. I do. And that's something that somebody's really told, or somebody's really used against me these last couple months. We've gotten on the text line quite a bit. Here's the deal, man. Just because I'm 20 years old, I lived through I paid attention to the Callahan, I paid attention to the Bo Pelini, I paid attention to the Mike Riley, and now the Scott Frost. Listen, I'm not good at math, but 9 wins is much better than 3. And I understand there's off the field stuff going on with Bo. I truly get that. I remember when the tapes were released and everything, and we don't need to go into that. But I just wonder, when we talk about quarterback, like Scott Frost is getting this opportunity that nobody else would have. And at some point, you have to make a change. And not in coaches, but in the way that you do things, in the way that you process and run a program. And whether that's allowing your offensive staff to do their job, it's little things like that that'll switch it real quick. But I'm sorry, the farther that we get away from Iowa, I just don't care about the one loss or the one score losses. Excuse me. Okay, see, this is what I was worried about. And we got to take a break shortly, so I won't have time to spend on this. Tyler says this on the text line. So you're calling for Frost's job now. Tyler, I cannot remember how many times this segment I said take Scott Frost's name out of it. Any coach. And also, you can please go back on the podcast if you'd like, because there were many times throughout the course of the season and after the season ended that I sat here in the same exact spot that said, man, I want Scott Frost to work. Holy crap, I want Scott Frost to work here. And we broke the news. Me and Rico broke the news on our show when they restructured his deal. And I said, this is great. This is great for Nebraska because this is a program that has had zero stability, right? Outside the quarterback from just being there, being on the field, right? Like I was just talking about a little bit earlier. And so now you give Scott Frost time because at that point, Nebraska continued to show the progress. But then now I'm sitting here at the end of the year and saying, man, at some point it has to be about progress. We can't sit here at the end of year 5, and say, well, they were closer than they were at year 4. And then say at the end of, and then we'll find ourselves eventually at the end of year 7 going, well, they're closer than they were at year 6. How many times are we willing to do that? And by we, I mean Husker fans. How many times are we going to be, as Husker fans, okay with mediocrity? That's as simple as I can put it. And it doesn't matter about age at that point. Because you could go up to an 8-year-old and say, hey, what's better? 3 wins or 3 to 5 wins for 6 years straight, or 7 to 8 wins for 5 years straight. And they're going to say, 7 or 8. Right? Tyler responds this. He goes, okay, I like that response. Thanks for clarifying. I just want us to get back to mediocrity. Ooh, are we below mediocrity? Yikes. Good stuff, guys. I want to get back to this thought. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, let's talk to Steve Sipple of the Lincoln Journal-Star. We'll ask him about the quarterback. We'll ask him about standards at Nebraska. And who knows what else we'll ask Steve Sipple about Lincoln Journal-Star. All of that next on the Happy Hour.
Follow Nick and Enrique on Twitter at Nick_Sainert and at Radio Rico AC. More of Happy Hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. This is your High School Minute.
With your Southeast Community College High School Minute, I'm Harrison Hines. Over the holiday break, Lincoln Northeast secured the Heartland Athletic Conference Tournament Championship over Lincoln Pius X, 51-48. Gardner for Northeast led all scorers with 19. The undefeated Lincoln Northeast Rockets now sit at 9-0, and Lincoln Pius sits at 6-3. For the girls, Fremont would walk away with the championship, also beating Lincoln Pius X, 59-47. McGabe for Fremont led all scorers with 20. Fremont now leads the Class A girls by power points in the NSAA rankings with a record of 7-1. Lincoln Pius sits at 4th with a record of 7-2. In the Shelby Rising City Wrestling Invitational, Grant Wells from Lincoln Lutheran won the 126 championship weight class by decision in a match versus Mosel from Plainview, who was previously undefeated. Lincoln Lutheran would finish 9th out of 12 teams. In the Bennington duels, Lincoln East would finish 1st as a team out of 10. This has been your High School Minute, sponsored by Southeast Community College, with locations in Lincoln, Beatrice, and Milford. Learn more today at southeast.edu.
Now what do? Football is over. The weather's crappy. Man, I tell you what, it's a perfect time to go car shopping. This is Carl from Price Right Auto. Come out to Price Right in Westell and you'll find over 100 great vehicles at some great prices. With our non-commissioned sales process, we let you control the sale. We won't let you get a lemon since we back every one of our vehicles with our Peace of Mind 3-month warranty. If you want a hassle-free car buying experience, check out our website, PriceRightAuto.com. Come see a great selection of affordable used cars on West O Street at Price Right Auto.
Starting the right career is one of the most important decisions you'll ever make. You want to enjoy your career, be challenged, have fun, earn a great weekly paycheck, and work for a great company. If you're looking for a career change or right out of high school, the John Henry's Plumbing Apprentice Program may be the perfect answer. You'll get paid while getting hands-on training. We focus on your skills while you engage in real-world learning. Why not join the John Henry's team today? Apply at jhlincoln.com. That's jhlincoln.com.
John Henry's Plumbing, heating and air. In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
I'm Dan Friedman. When you entrust the care of an aging or sick loved one to a nursing home, it can be a gut-wrenching decision. Unfortunately, sometimes these facilities are poorly managed or make bad decisions, and our vulnerable loved ones suffer the consequences. If you believe your loved one suffered at the hands of a poorly run nursing home, it doesn't cost you a thing to get the opinion of a skilled trial lawyer. At Friedman Law, we've been protecting the rights of injured Nebraskans for over half a century. It's what we do. It's all we do. Find us at friedmanlaw.com today.
You're listening to the Happy Hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back here on the Happy Hour, 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. Appreciate you guys big time in the first segment there. Really good reaction on the text line. We will get to all of your texts in the final segment. But for now, we have a pretty important guest on the line. We go to the Honda Lincoln Hotline where we're joined by Steve Sipple of Lincoln Journal-Star. Sip, hello. Welcome to the Happy Hour.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. I don't think it's all that important, but yeah, appreciate it. How are you guys?
It's good. It's just me today. Rico bailed on me. He said he had a sick kid or something, so he bailed.
Well, Nick, you can handle this.
Oh yeah, no, we're fine.
Yeah, you can keep me as long as you want. What do you have on your mind?
Well, so we were talking about quarterback. Let's talk quarterback, Sip.
Okay.
What's happening, man? It's January 6th, 2022, and there's two names right around Nebraska football: Casey Thompson and Chubba. So, I mean, what's the update? What can you tell us?
Well, I think Nebraska. I just had written a column that just posted a little bit ago. I'd say Nebraska is in prime position for Casey Thompson, and I think they're in pretty prime position for Chubba Purdy. So I think right now they're in a good spot, Nebraska. And you know how it goes though with these things. Things can change quickly, but I think Nebraska feels very good about its position with both. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Thompson news happens. Today's Thursday. Maybe as soon as today. I would think by Saturday. If Thompson's going to pick Nebraska, then I think we'll know by Sunday. Okay.
Okay, let's stick with the what's that mean for Chubba, I suppose. I mean, and the ability, because I mean, I know he's visiting January 14th and classes start the 18th. So I mean, what's that mean for a guy like him who's kind of been circling around Mark Whipple more than just Nebraska for a longer period of time?
Sorry about that. I just opened the door. And here's the deal, Nick. I think what it means for Chubba is pretty self-explanatory that they're, I think Nebraska, I know Nebraska wants to take two out of the portal. Now that depends on those parties, both those parties, Thompson and Chubba Purdy, being amenable to that. And I think they are based on what I've heard. So I guess what you're wondering is if Thompson picks Nebraska, like I expect to happen, then does Chubba look at that and go, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't think so. They're two different situations. Purdy's a 4-for-4 guy. I mean, he's a young guy coming in. I almost think of him as like a recruit coming in. He's got 4 years left. So, and, when I say that, I mean like a conventional recruit. So I don't think it would affect him. My guess, Nick, and you don't really know this stuff unless you're privy to the conversations, but my guess is Nebraska's communicating to Chubba what's going on, and communicating to Casey Thompson and Charles Thompson, the father, what's going on. And it seems like it should fall into place. I'm kind of expecting it to.
We're joined by Steve Sipple of Lincoln Journal-Star here on the Happy Hour. Sip, let's go to the position group that's next to the quarterback, the running back room, right? There's a lot of bodies still in that room. There's just not a lot of proven production outside of Ramir Johnson, and he got his opportunity because of a Gabe Ervin injury. So what's your confidence level or thoughts on the running back room going into next season?
Pretty confident. I think it's a solid group. I mean, what you want, though, if you're going to compete at the level that Nebraska fans hunger for, you need a dude in there. I mean, not just a guy that can get you what's blocked, right? I think Nebraska has some guys in that room right now that can get you the what's blocked. They just don't get much beyond that. And you want a guy that, Amir Abdullah, for instance. You know what I'm saying, Nick? He didn't just get you what was blocked. I mean, if there was nothing blocked, he might get you 20 yards. I mean, that's the kind of guy you need. Rex was like that, Rex Burkhead. So I'm talking about an all Big Ten level running back. That those don't just have to exist in other places. And I will tell you, I know for a fact that Nebraska is in the market for a transfer portal running back. They're looking in the portal for that guy. If that guy presents himself, if he's interested in Nebraska, they'll take him, and that we'll just have to see how that goes.
Going back to the quarterback, sorry to flip the script on you, Swift.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Going back to the quarterback, what do you think Nebraska's pitch to these guys is?
Pitch,
as in why come to Nebraska?
I mean, there's obviously a good chance to be a starting quarterback, especially a veteran. The pitch is also probably about Whipple. Here's a chance to play for a guy who produced a Heisman finalist, produced an offense that helped lead Pitt to the ACC championship, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of this is the opportunity to work under Mark Whipple, who's proven at a high level, work with an NFL Super Bowl winning quarterback, all that, all the Whipple stuff. And listen, Nick, Nebraska is still a high profile program. I mean, I know what I'd do if I were Frost or if I were Whipple or anybody connected with Nebraska who's involved in the process. If I were involved in the NIL, I would show a prospective quarterback like Casey Thompson video of the Michigan game and the crowd. I would show them the TV version and the excitement in that stadium, which hey, Nick, you don't find that everywhere in the country.
Yeah.
You sure the hell don't find it in Texas. I mean,
Well, especially with the record that Nebraska had.
Right, exactly. You show them the Northwestern night game. You show them that energy that's still there. You show them the Iowa game. I mean, the fans, how they showed up for that game and were loud. Yeah, that's what I'd be showing them. But particularly the Michigan game, which was through the roof. I mean, it was memorable. And hey, Nick, there's a lot of games I legitimately don't remember being at. I just, 25 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, if I look in the media guide at some games, I don't even remember it.
Yeah.
That game against Michigan, I'll always remember. It was that exciting. The scene was marvelous, and that's what I point to. That's one thing I definitely point to.
We're joined by Steve Sipple of Lincoln Journal-Star. Sip, let's flip to the other side of the ball, defense, which was the better group of the two, offense, defense, this last season. Defensive back room took a little bit of a hit last week. Nadab Joseph, depth-wise, right, enters the transfer portal. How confident are you in Travis Fisher being able to turn that group around, or what position group on the defense gives you the most skepticism heading into next season?
Not the secondary.
Yeah.
I mean, those losses up front are significant. But I mean, I think it's a solid defense. I mean, I haven't pondered the personnel that much in the last couple weeks or the last several weeks, but I mean, I'm a little, there's a little concern about depth up front in the interior line. I suppose there's going to be some guys like Nash Hutmacher that are pretty unproven. They're going to have to play pretty large roles. That Damian Daniels loss was significant, and Ben Stilley graduating significant. Ben was playing at a high level, and Ben Stilley made himself into someone who could probably make a push to make an NFL roster. And I wouldn't have said that going into the season. And Damian was Daniels was a valuable player. A little concerned, I guess, if I had to point to a concern, it would be the defensive interior. And I'm talking about a four-man, they're playing mostly even now, even front. So the two interior guys, that's, you got to find some depth. I like Casey Rogers. I like Robinson. You got to find some more depth though.
All right, Sip, last one before we let you go. It's more of a bigger picture question. We get this off the text line and you'll just be able to answer it better than I would. Where's Nebraska at with all their staff replacements? How's the staff shaking out? Give us an update on that if you could.
It's shaking out. Yeah. I mean, I think they're in good shape there. I think maybe as soon as tomorrow you would hear, I was half expecting today that you'd hear that Mike Dawson will take over the defensive front and Bill Bush will be part of the staff as special teams coordinator and probably take help with a position. Could be the nickels, could be just some part of the secondary where Bill's coached that much of his life. So those two things for sure. I don't know about the running back position. The names are pretty clear to me. I mean, I know for a fact that they're considering Ron Brown, who's a senior analyst right now on the staff, has coached the position at a super high level in Nebraska before and coached tight ends and receivers at an incredibly high level, has 3 national championship rings. and Greg Knox at Florida has definitely been on their radar. I think Brian Applewhite at TCU is someone that's being considered. I don't know when that will happen. I don't think there's any concern. The only concern I would have is if they don't have that position named before the recruiting dead period ends on January 14th, so next week. But I don't know. I just don't think there's any real need. There's no. I mean, it's not a pressing matter right now, but it will become that next week. So I think that it's all gone pretty well for Scott in that way, and I don't envision anything changing in that regard.
Awesome. Sip, appreciate it, man. I appreciate you being able to come on in short notice, and we'll talk to you down the road, man.
All right, Nick. Just keep taking deep breaths. Just calm down. You're doing a great job.
I don't know, Sip. I'm pretty long-winded. I don't know if I need to worry about taking some deep breaths. I mean, as you know, I've been hitting the weight room recently.
Yeah, you are quite
right. And you know where that conversation leads us, so you know exactly internally.
That'll lead us right out of the building if we're not careful. So I'll talk to you soon, Nick.
See you, Sip. That is Steve Sipple of the Lincoln Journal-Star. Appreciate him coming on to the show in short notice. All right, let's take a break. We'll get to your thoughts from the first segment on the text line, 402-464-5685. Got 17 minutes or so to get those final thoughts in. We haven't talked about Wandel, and we haven't talked about Taco Bell. So we'll get to a couple of those things next up here on the Happy Hour, 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store to stay in touch and listen all day long wherever you are. More of the Happy Hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Rosie's Sports Bar and Grill has been your go-to in South Lincoln for years, and their second location in downtown Lincoln is now open. Rosie's downtown spot is Lincoln's premier Nebraska party bar with the Sidetrack Band every Friday night of home games and all day for Nebraska home football games. With 34 TVs that are 65 inches or bigger, you'll always have a great view for all the games. Make sure to check out the new Rosie Sports Bar and Grill, now open in downtown Lincoln at 10th and P.
I'm Dan Friedman. When you entrust the care of an aging or sick loved one to a nursing home, it can be a gut-wrenching decision. Unfortunately, sometimes these facilities are poorly managed or make bad decisions, and our vulnerable loved ones suffer the consequences. If you believe your loved one suffered at the hands of a poorly run nursing home, it doesn't cost you a thing to get the opinion of a skilled trial lawyer. At Friedman Law, we've been protecting the rights of injured Nebraskans for over half a century. It's what we do. It's all we do. Find us at friedmanlaw.com today.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sure. Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
Landmark Implement is your local authorized John Deere dealer. Landmark's trained and certified sales staff will help you find the right equipment for your needs at a price that's right for you, all backed by Landmark's extensive parts and service network. Whether it's a tractor, planter, combine, an easy track lawnmower, or gator, every piece of equipment in pre-owned inventory is put through a rigorous inspection so it's ready to work hard for you. Landmark's team works together to make sure everything is sold meets their quality standards. Learn more at landmarkimp.com or stop into a local Landmark location and experience the Landmark difference.
Hi, this is Sean Callahan with Koppel Chevrolet GMC. New vehicle production has been increasing, but the lots will not be filling up anytime soon. In fact, most vehicles are being pre-sold and are leaving the same week as they arrive. If you want your new Chevrolet or GMC, this is a great time to build a vehicle and place an order. Our sales team will work right with you to build the exact vehicle you want. At Koppel, we appreciate your business and sell vehicles at a fair price. So come check us out or visit us online at koppelcars.com.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for youth.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals into your body.
And nicotine, which can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media,
Many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
so talk to your kids about the risks of vaping.
Sponsored by SAMHSA and Nebraska DHHS. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
You know you want that smoky, tangy, sweet, and spicy sauced and tossed Wingstop. But you just brought a haul of groceries home from the store. It's cool. No one expects you to shop and cook in the same day. So let the flavor experts at Wingstop hook you up with mouth-watering wings, crispy tenders and thighs, fries and sides delivered to your door. You can always cook tomorrow. That's why the fridge was invented. Get it delivered at wingstop.com.
Order online now from the new Wingstop located at 5001 O Street. Casey's General Store is giving you the chance at winning 2 free tickets to a Nebraska home basketball game this season. Stop by any Casey's location in Lincoln throughout basketball season. Enter your name into the registration box, and you'll have a chance to win 2 tickets to an upcoming Nebraska basketball game. Every drawing will occur at least 24 hours before the game that has its selected winner. So make sure to get to any Casey's in Lincoln today for your chance at 2 free tickets for Nebraska men's basketball games.
You're listening to The Happy Hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back here on The Happy Hour, 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. Just Nick Sainert with you today. No Rico. He had some other stuff come up. Appreciate Sip hanging out with me for 15 minutes or so. Real quickly here, you guys know how we like to operate here at the Ticket, and we're able to give away some care baskets courtesy of Beatrice Bakery every single day. Each show has their own day. So Thursday is the Happy Hour show, and we got a nomination on theticketfm.com. Just a sidebar here. You can go to theticketfm.com and nominate somebody that you know to receive a care basket or a group of people. And here's one that we got earlier today from Anonymous. So this one nominated the pediatric floor at Bryant East Hospital. They say whatever nurses are working at the time deserve the recognition. My wife works there, but her nor I are good with spotlights, so I'd like to avoid that. They say this: the girls have been working very hard since COVID hit, since the beginning. Their workload has been relentless, but they show up every day and do their job each day. It's a pediatric floor in a hospital during COVID. They've been taking overflow patients since it started. Not a ton more elaborating is probably necessary. Absolutely not. So thanks again to Beatrice Bakery. We will absolutely get in touch and take a care basket over to the pediatric floor at Bryant East Hospital. Appreciate this anonymous person for nominating the pediatric floor at Bryant East Hospital. So once again, if you would like to nominate somebody that you know or a group of people that you know, head over to theticketfm.com. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_Sainert, and we will get that into the hands of the correct people and go about our ways that way. All right. So let's see. We should probably continue that conversation here from the first segment. Let's see. What do we got here? A lot about age, not discounting my opinion. I appreciate that. A lot of offensive line talk. I think that's a big thing, right? Got to restructure the offensive line. When we talk about running backs in a portal, it's hard not to think that part of a running back being successful is the offensive line, right? And once again, not calling for anybody's job. It's no fun. I'll be honest. Like I was able to start going to press conferences and everything during this, being in the sports radio now and being able to see and kind of ask like guys like Matt Lubick and the staff that got let go. I was able to ask them questions and things like that. And it's not fun. I realized that really quickly, that when somebody gets let go of a program that you're covering, it's not all that enjoyable to continue talking about how they didn't do a good enough job. But unfortunately, it's the facts, and we got to talk about it. All right, let's move on to Wandel Robinson. We got, a little under 8 minutes left. Probably less. Wandel Robinson heading to the NFL draft. How high do we think he's going? While he was at Nebraska, he was connected to, like that Rondale Moore from Purdue at the time, now with the Arizona Cardinals. And Rondale Moore, let me just tell you this here. Limited season this year. But he's 5'7", his intangibles, 5'7", 181 pounds, 54 catches this year for the Cardinals, 435 yards, 1 touchdown. Wandel Robinson, 5'10", maybe, could be shorter, 185 pounds, and in one season becomes Kentucky's single-season receiving yards leader. How high can Wandel go? Second round? Are we thinking that? I truly think that second round would be realistic for Wandel Robinson, and here's why. There are ways, and Kentucky showed this, there are ways to use him to where he's successful. Milkman on Twitter, Milkman on the text line says he's going pro. He's not getting drafted very high. I truly think that he's a day 2 guy and a pretty early day 2 guy. He's not going to be running up the middle. He's going to be like Rondale Moore, right? Think back to Tavon Austin. I believe Tavon's probably a little bigger than Wandale. But there are ways with spread offenses now. Like, imagine if he's in like the Cliff Kingsbury offense and just takes Rondale Moore's place. I would put Wandale over Rondale. And maybe that's just because what he did at Kentucky, but it shows that when you put an athlete like Wandale Robinson in a position to be successful, good things happen on a consistent basis. So that made me think, and here's a little bit of a preview of what I want to talk about tomorrow with Rico, because hopefully Rico's back. If not, you and I can still have this conversation. Nebraska has kind of lost their star player, or maybe a better word to use would be, or a phrase to use would be, most important player every single year since 2018. Now, that's not me. Before y'all on text line come at me for saying, well, this coaching's so easy, why don't you do it? Because we got a couple of those. But here's the thing. Think about it. Divine Ozigbo, took him a while to assess talent, graduated. Adrian Martinez may have been their most important player in 2018, but he was a freshman, and there were a lot of high hopes going into 19, right? Stanley Morgan Jr. leaves as well. 2019, you lose Maurice Washington. J.D. Spielman transfers after the season. 2020, you lose Wandale and a couple others. A couple of big recruits that never got to campus. Keyshawn Green, Henry Gray. A couple big-time recruits that just never worked out. Tyjon Lindsey, Marcus Fleming never worked out. And now this year, following the season, Adrian Martinez. And that's where that most important player comes into, or phrase comes into effect. It's something to think about. And that's not me saying, Nebraska's the only school with attrition, because I know that's not a fact. Every school deals with attrition. But I spent kind of the first segment there talking about how poor these first 4 years have gone. Now this is me on the flip side saying, well, look what they've had to overcome every single year. Take it however you like. Just something to think about as well. About a minute left here. Appreciate you guys hanging out. You guys have been awesome. 402-464-5685. Keep it going into the 3 o'clock hour here. I believe Bach and Big Sky are with you. Drumstick says this, Nick, can you ask Sip if he's a Weezer fan? Oh, I should have. My bad, Drumstick. Should have saw that one. Let's keep this going tomorrow night, or tomorrow afternoon, I should say. This was a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me for an hour. By the way, tomorrow night, we'll have high school hoops on the ticket. It's Pius X and Lincoln Southwest. I'll talk a little bit more about that, what you can expect from there. Thanks again to the great folks over at Beatrice Bakery for letting us dish out a care basket. And thank you to the Bryan East Pediatric Floor for this week's nominee. Antonio Brown's no longer a Buck. Shouldn't surprise anybody. I'm out of here. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Now what do we do? Football is over. The weather's